Well, everybody, thank you very much for being present and reviewing this video and this podcast. Today we have Tomer with us from Textile, and we're going to discuss his industry and vertical, as well as we're going to have a few questions about his company, where he's going to express the reasons why he created this company. You're the co-founder, and your markets, what are the expectations, and how you see the future of it. So Tomer, thank you again for participating in this podcast, and let's just dive into it. So how did you come up with the idea for your new company?
So I've been in the financial inclusion, let's call it, side of finance for a very long while. Started my journey back in 2014 in the blockchain world. I started in community currencies, later moved to work in automated market makers, businesses. Later was the architect of $2, which is the universal basic income token that is serving above a million users today. And later was a GP at Flory Ventures. That's a VC that invested in the intersection of blockchain and emerging markets. One of the subjects that was always close to my heart was the question of liquidity. How do we bring liquidity to the places that are most in need? And investing and building, you come across credit. Question of who gets to have access to credit and why. And you see that unlike what they taught us in economics school, that the price of credit is determined by the risk of credit, that is not exactly the case. Usually the case would be that the price of credit is a question of access. This credit that is served either by fintech companies or microfinance or other alternative lending companies all falls under the sector that is called private credit. Now, unlike public credit, which are bonds, a market where when you buy a bond, when you supply credit in a public market, you can, first of all, trade your assets. You can sell it whenever you'd like. You can collateralize it and take a loan against it. You can do many things with it. Something that doesn't exist in private credit today. The second thing that happens is that in public credit, you have a mandatory data, a mandatory data reveal of the companies who are asking for credit from the public, which doesn't exist in the private credit world. So, the thing is, what allows for public credit to be so efficient is the fact that data is accessible and that you can utilize your assets. You can collateralize them, you can trade them, you can do everything you can do with them. Those two are the aspects that we as a company see missing today in private credit. This is what we are building for. We are building the infrastructure to allow any type of company to raise credit in a public market, but using their own legal structure today with a few clicks of a button. And second, we are putting an infrastructure and a standard for reporting your data in a trustless way, so people can compare between one credit company to another, mainly asset-backed and in emerging markets at the beginning.
Okay, all right. Can you tell us a little bit about your audience? Who are you targeting?
So we are combining between, we're starting specifically with fintech companies in Latin America that are doing asset-backed lending, invoices, invoice-backed or BNPL, future payments. Some of them might be cross-border payments, etc. This is on one side of the marketplace. The second side of the marketplace are high net worth individuals who are looking to invest into that market. And in between, we have another individual that we call curators, which are people who are experts in the private credit world, who will be the intermediaries between the people with the money and the credit companies. What we allow those people to do is create baskets. So you or I that don't understand the private credit world, don't know how to underwrite those type of companies, can say, well, let's say, we have, Richard, let's say you are an expert. Me as an individual who doesn't know how to invest my money into private credit, to give you the money, that you will create a basket of those assets. So those are the three types of layers that we are targeting. We're targeting credit companies, private credit experts, and high net worth individuals.
All right. How do you manage the risk, or is it different from the traditional risk that we find in a public credit or the traditional credit market?
It's very, 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 very different. I think the most important thing about the risk here is to understand that the risk has multiple layers into it. Because, I'll give an example. You lend to a fintech company in the Philippines. You have the risk of the type of borrowers who borrow the money. You have the risk of the location you're in. Maybe the Philippines is not such a secure market. And you have the option of, someone just not paying back their loan. So the way we handle that is initially we need to break down the risk into multiple levels. We start with companies who are mainly asset-backed lending, which takes down the risk of borrowers not paying back tremendously. If it's backed by goods, if it's farmers that are exporting their goods to Europe, then you know that, their loan is backed by their goods. You can always take over that. And there's multiple ways of doing that into future payments, into invoices, etc., etc., etc. So this is one layer of how do we manage the risk. Start with those types of companies. Second thing that we do, each company has their own underwriter. And the underwriter incentive usually would be aligned with the investor's incentive. It will be to make sure that this type of loan succeeds. It will be usually someone from the local market who underwrites the loan, who says, vouch for the loan, and has the legal abilities to take action in case it's needed. So this is the second thing that we do. And the third thing that we do, we don't expect investors to be giving money directly to credit companies. In between, we have the vaults with the curators, which are the credit experts, which gives you another layer in between the money and the lenders. So all those aspects together supposed to be able to bring better risk-return ratio to what exists today in the private credit world. The second thing that we do is that all data is exposed to you that wasn't exposed to you before in the world of private credit. Today, when you invest into private credit, you have no access to the data. The fact that we are servicing the data, digesting the data, putting it into a clean dashboard allows anyone to analyze the risk in a better form than was ever able before.
Thank you, Tomer. For our audience, could you explain the delta in a few words?
Delta of,
yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah.
The delta between the existing world and where we aim it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Alex, maybe sharpen your question so I won't answer something else. Make sure, because there's a few ways that I can answer that.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the delta is related to the risk.
Yes.
So, our audience might not always understand the jargon of the financial industry. Just to make it sure that they understand the delta and its function, if you could just give a little bit depth to it.
Yes. So I think one of the most important things when it comes to risk is understanding the risk. Today, in the world of private credit, when a person is lending money to a company, he basically there is an asymmetry of information that is happening today. Before you give a company your money, you have the asymmetry is playing to your side. The company has no idea what you are going to do. Therefore, they're willing to expose all the data in the world. But once the money moves, from your hands to the other side's hands, to the company's hands. Now the asymmetry moves to their hands. From now on, they can simply expose whatever data they wish or see right to. Not because they're mean, just because there's no standard into deciding what to expose and what not.
So the delta is really a question of understanding the risk and then mitigating the risk.
Exactly. It's a question of risk and risk mitigation all the time. Because your ability to understand what is the position that you are holding, investing money is an ongoing, constant decision making that you need to take into account when having the data exposed to you. So the main part of the delta is the risk mitigation, but also what you can do with that risk. Because the fact that you can, for the first time, compare between those type of companies, from a company that is in the Philippines to a company that is in Latin America, allows you to also mitigate your risk by creating baskets, saying, well, I want to invest only in type of companies that are X or Y or Z, and hedging myself by saying, well, I want to invest in those sectors and to be exposed at least to 5 different regions, because otherwise I'm taking too much of a regional risk or FX risk, etc.
Yep, that's correct. That's correct. Let's shift the discussion a little bit to your target audience. What pain points do you resolve for them? What is it that exists today thanks to you and did not exist before?
Okay, there's a few layers that exist here. First of all, we need to look at it from both sides. Okay, there is the person with the money and the person, the company that wants to borrow the money. What exists today that needs to be solved is this tension of what's happening with my position. Okay, this type of symmetry of information between the two parties doesn't exist today and creates a huge tension that doesn't allow money to flow constantly. So at the most simple level, what doesn't exist today is my ability as an investor to be able to take decisions that are based on data, that and the fact that you can utilize your asset. The fact that if someone today is in need for liquidity at the earlier stage, needs to borrow against his asset in order to either leverage himself or wants to do something else with the money, or needs for urgent liquidity,
Exactly.
the ability to do those kind of actions, create more efficiencies into those markets.
So we were discussing about pain points and how you were resolving those. We discussed, access to credits, the fact that we are mitigating risk via baskets, where we are spreading the risk across either geolocation or even type of companies in the industries or even both, correct?
Yes. So, first of all, I think we need to talk about
that's pretty much the pain point that you're helping with.
The idea of decentralization is the fact that us as a company, Textile, we never touch the money. The most basic level.
Yeah.
If you, as a person who wants to add liquidity to a pool of a company in Kenya, in the interactions between you, Textile never takes part. It also only helps with facilitating the infrastructure that allows the money to move from X to Y. Now, why is it better? Well, I think we're talking about the DeFi industry. I think we have finished the stage of crypto for the sake of crypto. So far, blockchain technologies has been serving the crypto market. And I think that was very reasonable for the time being, because once assets start gaining value, immediately there's arbitrage opportunities by opening those financial services to the blockchain assets. technology that is superior, a financial technology that is superior to the traditional technology has been built. Now we're starting the stage of taking this superior technology and serving with it the real world type of assets. And this is what the next, I believe, next 10 years is going to be all about the fact that the superior DeFi technology will start serving the traditional assets, which will be what's happening another billions or not trillions of dollars of action on the blockchain and DeFi specifically. I think there's few layers to it. There's, first of all, there is infrastructure, I'll call it infrastructure and legal. Those are the two sides of the coin that needs to be balanced. I think I'm coming from the position that nobody wants to stop at economical activity. There will be some overshooting initially, over loosening and over tightening, and we'll be playing between those. But the main goal eventually would be to find our safe haven for my mother to be able to come in and to do everything she needs that is just better, easier to do in the blockchain space than the traditional financial world.
All right, Tomer, thank you so much. We are nearing the end of this podcast. Is there anything you would like to add, or anything I forgot to ask you that you think is of importance for our audience to know?
Well, depends on who you are sitting now listening. If you're a person of crypto, come, follow us, join our space, please experience with our product, we'd love that. If you're a person who is new to the blockchain world, I would highly recommend you buy $500, play with this DeFi world, understand why is it superior to the traditional economy that you know. The revolution happens in those details, in those experiments. Don't miss out on that. There's something big happening, join the movement.
All right, so that's for us. It's a good message for people not to be scared and start small and understand what they are doing if they are not really aware of what blockchain is and DeFi is. But everybody has heard of crypto, and there are divides between those that believe in it and those that are scared of it. But we are definitely going towards a future where people are getting more used to it and will try and test. So thank you very much, Tomer. This ends our podcast. I really appreciate you being on with us and providing all those insights to our audience. And stay tuned for the next podcast. Have a good day, Tomer.
Good day. Thank you, Richard. Bye-bye.